Hello, this is Pete from GS2. I want to show a project I did over the winter. My father-in-law had these pair of old BSR, I can't remember the model number now, I'll have to dig it up, speakers in his basement. There was a 15-inch driver down here, it's huge. There was a 6-inch mid-range driver here, and there was a small horn here. All the surrounds were blown. I don't even know if the things worked. When I went to tear them apart, I saw the crossovers, which were mounted here, were just in poor condition, and I didn't even plug them in to see if they worked. I just assumed they didn't. So I stripped them out, recycled the steel, of course, the speakers and the magnets. And I came up with a drawing that I could, here was the existing dimensions of the insides of that with the 15-inch driver and the 6 and then the horn here. And I'm working with some 1/2-inch thick MDF, medium density fiberboard, and I had an idea of maybe putting in a 12-inch. I did some research into the volume here, and I found that a 12-inch driver down here, low end, was probably going to fit the volume of this cabinet a little better than the 15-inch, so I decided to use that as my dimensions here, and then I was going to put some sort of driver here and some sort of driver here, and that's just seat of the pants sort of stuff. I can't tell you, I spent a lot of time doing research into the calculations on it, but all in all, this is what I came up with here, and I ended up building those MDF face plates just to fit the 12-inch. Then I'm going to put a air motion transformer here, a small one, and then a small dome driver tweeter up for that section there. And it, and so this is a cabinet as it is. And I bought a two-way crossover here from it was a Parts Express, I think. They were relatively inexpensive, had certainly more wattage capacity than I'll ever use for this speaker, but actually I had a couple of these on the shelf. I tried for another project that just didn't work out, so I put them back in the box and decided to keep them. So, and the thing that's important, when I put these with a foam padding underneath and I screwed them down so they're not going to rattle, I just didn't put the plate on top of this MDF existing in the cabinet. Important to do. I mean, the first couple of speakers I ever built, I just mounted them down, and I had this strange buzz or rattle that I didn't know where it came from, and so I isolated those with some sticky back foam tape on the back of them. And then I had to cut out for a binding post. I actually left this open here. I'm of the school of thought, for whatever reason, that I like ported speakers, open, ported. This is not correct geometry for that, but I figured I'd just leave it and I'll see how it turns out. And it didn't turn out bad. I probably need to close that up a little bit, but nonetheless, at this point in time, I just was moving forward. And I've got my binding posts and cut out, and this is kind of what it looked like with the MDF insert in there and then the existing. Again, pretty straightforward project. I probably should have thrown these things out, but I figured, let's see if I can bring them back to life, and I did. And this is the, I don't know if you can see this well or not, but this is the 1 1/8-inch aluminum dome tweeter here. It's a 4 ohm. And then up top here in this hole here, I'm going to put an air motion transformer, also 4 ohm. So I'm going to actually kind of break the rules a bit. I'm going to put these things in series and mount them to that, connect them to the high end of the two-way crossover. And then, of course, this one here will go on the low end. There's ways you can condition this. I've seen projects where people have used L pads or use a series of different resistors to kind of make sure that the sound pressure levels from this one and that one are close, or however they so choose to design it. I just left them in there, just again, project. I wanted to see if it would work. It was a low budget thing. I didn't want to get real nuts with it, and just hooking it in series, it actually turned out pretty well. When I looked at the specs for the air motion transformer and the 1 1/8-inch dome tweeter, they were actually, the SPLs, the sound pressure levels were actually fairly close. Well, I'll put them in there and see if I like, and I can always adjust them later. So this is what it looks like as I'm starting to load the components up. And this one is done. This one I'm getting ready to load. Pretty straightforward stuff. This is a quick picture of it on kind of its side. You can kind of see the crossover in there, and the wires connecting to it, and I've got it already connected up to the binding post in the back. And then once I finished them, I brought them upstairs in my home TV system. This is actually an ST70, a VTA modification, and some Shita preamp down here, and a 4-level tone stack. Again, stuff I had laying around, and I kind of put it together for our TV home system here, and it actually didn't sound too bad, surprisingly. So that's how that ended up working out. I'm quite surprised and happy that it turned out as well as it did. I've got them down in my shop now, and I can hook them up as kind of some test speakers for amps I'm building. I have built a couple other projects, and I'm going to probably do these in another video down the road, so I'm going to put these up here. This is a tower, a trapezoidal cross section that I built some time ago. Very similar dome tweeter, a much larger air motion transformer. I think this is a 4-inch and a 6-inch, and then I've got a 12-inch or a 15-inch sub down here. It's powered with a 300-watt Class D plate amplifier. This I built for a very large room that I had the system in. It's a 2 monoblock 125 amp KT88 driven monoblocks, and it's a very large room, and it actually filled the room quite well. Since then, moved to a smaller space. I had to take out one pair of the monoblocks KT88s, so it was just too darn loud. And then this is another system I built. This is the one that was actually currently existing on our TV upstairs, and it's a very similar 1 1/8 inch aluminum cone here. That same air motion transformer. This is a 6-inch. This is a 12-inch down here. This is actually a two-way speaker, and I separated the two so I could move the top cabinet around a little bit. Then I put a 300-watt sub off to the side. It actually sounds like you're in a movie theater. My neighbors think I'm nuts for all the crazy sounds that comes out of our house. But anyway, I'll probably do this project and the preceding one just to show you how those were built. And unfortunately, I can't really play them to show how they sound, but they actually sound pretty darn good considering. So anyway, this was the BSR project that I kind of rebuilt these old speaker cabinets that I was probably going to throw out. I'll probably throw a coat of paint on these things and make a stand, because they really need to be elevated off the ground. There's just way too much low-end driver here to stick this thing on the bottom. You can kind of see I built a little platform for these right here. I'll probably do something similar for these down the road. But anyway, just something to do in my spare time. I'll be honest with you. I enjoy doing stuff like this, and they work out sometimes and sometimes they don't, but I do this for fun. I don't sell this to anybody. I'm a novice builder, and this is something I did off to the side. And even though I'm just a terrible carpenter, and I had a real hard time working with this MDF, but over time, practice makes perfect like anything else, and I'm getting a little better at it. It's a little easier to work with. I have much less scrap than I used to. And all that said and done, have fun with these projects, enjoy yourself, and we'll see you next time.